I am making this video for one simple reason. The story you are being told about Venezuela is wrong. If you're watching the mainstream news in London or New York, you're hearing about politics, democracy, and regime change. But if you're an investor, or just someone who wants to know where the world is actually going, that narrative is useless to you. Now, the benefit for you watching this today is simple. I'm going to show you the balance sheet of this operation. We're going to strip away the political noise and look at the cold, hard financials. Because when you understand that the raid on Venezuela and the pressure on Greenland are not separate events, but two sides of the same business deal, you realize something terrifying but profitable. Welcome to Money and Power. I'm Richard, your host. My goal isn't to tell you what is right or wrong. My goal is to show you who benefits, who pays, and how the smart money is positioning itself right now. Now, for those of you who've been with me for a long time, you know we started this journey as IlluminatiSilver. But on the 23rd of November 2025, we made a decision to evolve. We rebranded to Money and Power because the world has changed. We aren't just looking at precious metals anymore. Silver and gold are still the foundation, yes, but the power component, the geopolitical moves by the United States, China, and Europe, is now driving the money component faster than ever before. And if you want to protect your wealth in 2026 and beyond, you cannot just watch the spot price of silver. You have to watch the movements of fleets and the seizing of assets. That is what this channel is now dedicated to. So let's now look at the intervention in Caracas. Why now? The media says it's about freedom. The data says it's about chemistry. Here is the secret the energy sector doesn't advertise. The United States is the largest oil producer in the world, thanks to the Permian Basin in Texas. But they produce light, sweet crude. It's thin, like champagne. The problem is that the massive refineries on the US Gulf Coast, billions of dollars of infrastructure owned by giants like Valero and Chevron, cannot run on champagne. They were engineered decades ago to process heavy, sour crude, thick, sulfur-rich sludge. Now, Washington used to source this from Russia. That's gone due to sanctions. They used to get it from the Middle East. That supply is now unstable. Canada can provide some, but the pipeline capacity is maxed out. The only place left with the massive reserves of heavy crude needed to keep American diesel prices down is Venezuela. Now, this is crucial because diesel is the lifeblood of the economy. Without Venezuelan heavy crude, the cost of American diesel spikes. And when diesel spikes, cost of global shipping rises. The price of food rises. The price of Amazon deliveries rises. This operation wasn't a war. It was a supply chain correction. The US government effectively just bailed out its own refining industry to save the economy from an inflationary spike. But we need to pause and talk about the sheer scale of the money involved here. We aren't talking about millions or even billions. We're talking about trillions. And let's put this into perspective. Venezuela sits on approximately 300 billion barrels of proven oil reserves. Even at a conservative profit margin, that asset is worth north of $20 trillion. Now look at the US national debt. It's spiraling out of control. How does an empire service a debt that can never be paid back by taxes? It secures assets. By effectively taking control of Venezuela's oil output, the US has secured an asset base that rivals its entire national debt. This isn't just about gas prices. This is about the solvency of the American empire. It's the biggest asset seizure in human history. And Greenland? The Tanbreeze deposit alone is estimated to hold enough rare earths to supply the world for centuries. That is another multi-trillion-dollar asset. When you see the military move, don't think conflict. Think mergers and acquisitions. I want to pause here for a second. Now, if you appreciate this level of analysis, where we look at the logistics rather than the politics, please take a moment to subscribe and hit the like button. The algorithm hates this kind of content. They want conflict and drama. We're trying to build a community of critical thinkers who want the facts. By subscribing, you help us beat that algorithm and get this information to the people who need it. Also, check out our library. Since the rebrand in November, we've covered the shift in gold markets and the digital currency wars. If you missed those, you're missing half the puzzle. Now let's pivot to the next target, Greenland. If Venezuela is the energy play, Greenland is the technology play. We are talking about the Tanbreeze project, critical rare earths like dysprosium and neodymium. You cannot build an F-35 fighter jet, an electric vehicle motor, or a wind turbine without them. Right now, China has a chokehold on these metals. They control the processing. The US cannot accept that risk any longer. But here is the specific financial mechanism you need to understand: the buyout circle. In the mining world, junior miners usually take the risk. They find the rocks, but they don't have the billions needed to build the mine. Usually, a giant like Rio Tinto buys them out. But the game has changed. We're now seeing sovereign buyouts. We expect the US government, via proxy firms, to inject equity directly into these small Greenland companies. Why does this matter to you? Because when a government backs a small miner, the bankruptcy risk disappears. The stock price doesn't just grow, it re-rates. We are looking for small cap companies that are about to become national security assets. Now, I know many of you are asking, what does this mean for gold and silver? This is the most interesting part of the puzzle. In the short term, you might see the US dollar strengthen. Why? Because the US just secured massive assets. The market sees this muscle and buys the dollar. This might put temporary pressure on gold prices. But look at the long term. This is the Imperial discount I mentioned earlier. When the US seizes resources by force, it terrifies other nations. Do you think Brazil, India, or Saudi Arabia feel safe holding US dollars today? No, they're watching Venezuela and thinking, we could be next. This accelerates the move into neutral assets. Central banks around the world will buy more gold because gold cannot be seized by raid. Gold doesn't have a political party. So while the dollar might win the battle this week, gold wins the war. This chaos is the ultimate bullish sign for precious metals because it proves that fiat money is only backed by force, while gold is backed by trust. For silver, it's even better. Silver is an industrial metal. If the US is reindustrializing, building solar panels and electronics with Greenland's rare earths, they need massive amounts of silver. We are looking at a supply crunch meeting a demand shock. It's not just about oil and metals, though. The ripple effects of this deal touch everything. Look at logistics and retail. Companies like Amazon and Walmart have been terrified of rising shipping costs. By securing Venezuelan oil, the US stabilizes diesel prices. This is a direct subsidy to the bottom line of every major retailer in America. Look at agriculture. Modern farming runs on diesel. Tractors, combines, transport trucks. Lower fuel costs mean higher margins for the big AG business giants. And of course, defense. The move on Greenland requires hardware, icebreakers, Arctic surveillance drones, long-range radar. The defense budget isn't shrinking, it's pivoting north. The companies that build for the Arctic are the ones that will win in the next decade. So let's wrap up with your checklist. What are the signposts? Phase 1, watch for the first tanker from Venezuela to Houston. That confirms the oil thesis. Phase 2, watch for a US strategic partnership announcement with Denmark. That confirms the Greenland thesis. And regarding the companies, the easy money is in Halliburton and Chevron. They are the safe bets. The smart money is hunting for the Greenland junior miners signing off-take agreements. A final word of warning. This is not financial advice. I am analysing geopolitical trends, not telling you to buy a specific stock. The sectors we discussed are volatile. A single political decision can wipe out an investment. Please do your own due diligence. We are entering the era of realpolitik economics. We are trading long-term trust for short-term resources. But for the next 12 to 24 months, the trend is aggressive acquisition. I'm Richard. This is Money and Power. The Venezuela deal is done. Greenland is next. If you haven't subscribed yet, do it now. You cannot afford to miss the next update. Thank you for watching.